And we are live. Welcome everyone to episode 304 of Just Joshing. I apologize for the delay last night. For whatever reason, I could not upload the previous episodes to my YouTube channel. Ergo, there was no space for me to put this episode on the air. That has been amended. This is now airing live. This is episode 304. I am Joshua Pantellaresco. I write stuff in podcasts too. Today, Marc Watson joins the podcast. Marc, if you're listening to this, a belated happy birthday to you, man. Marc's an incredible writer, but this is an interesting conversation because we talk about the whole process, and Marc labeled himself as the anti-writer, if I remember this correctly, and you have to listen to this conversation here. I confront him about it, and what turns out to happen is, and I do believe this, he's not really an anti-writer, he's just more concerned about being the best father he can be, and I think that's an amazing thing. We talk about that and a whole lot more in this podcast. It's a really good episode. I really am happy with it. But first, I got to make a couple of little announcements. I am in Alberta for 2 more weeks in this bipolar weather, which I am going to tell you I will not miss even a little bit. I was grabbing boxes to move my stuff, and literally it was so windy. One of the boxes was literally driving down the street with the wind, going faster than the cars. It was actually amazing to watch. Crazy stuff as I am packing still for this epic move. I got to do as much packing as I can between now and tomorrow, because tomorrow night I will be getting my stuff ready for storage. My buddy Rory is coming to help me out on Sunday. So all my important stuff's going to be gone as of tomorrow night. This house is no longer going to be just my house. It's going to be something else, which is cool. More about what that means later. Let's go to our sponsors, and then let's get to the conversation, shall we?
Think you have what it takes? Get your ass to Mars. Gaiatim is a simulation game in which you arrive on Mars ahead of the colonists about to settle into this new home. Until they arrive, you have to survive, facing limited resources and a brand new world filled with unexpected challenges. Can you establish what the colonists need to survive? Or will Mars get the better of you? Gaiatim, the Dragon Edition, launches this November, courtesy of Indie Imprint on Steam and Windows. Check out indieimprint.com for more information.
All right.
No, it's good. It's a lot looser format, though. Like, there's not...
Oh, God. I actually had this conversation when I did the podcast panel last night. I hate question and answer. I hate it. I think you can do a very engaging 15-minute question and answer podcast. I think 15-minute question and answers are amazing.
Yeah. After
that, they suck. Mm-hmm. They legitimately, because the problem with a question and answer interview is they're not real conversations.
Yeah.
They're good and short, but if you don't have a lot of time, they're great. Yeah. But if there's time, no one wants to hear it. Mm-hmm. No one.
No, and if you have a longer format and it's more open, then.
So here's some water to start.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And a drink menu.
Thank you.
You're welcome. If there's cocktails or anything you guys want, just let me know what they would be. They don't have them on the list.
Okay.
It's just wine and beer on that.
Same thing I had last time, Sunshine and Rain.
The cabin?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. 14 ounce or 20?
20.
Okay, perfect.
Take 2, please.
All right.
Yes. Yeah. So, no, just because it's not like, and I leave this stuff in the podcast too because it's real.
Yeah.
Right. And people, I learned something really important about storytelling. It feels more organic when there's a little bit of chaos to it.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like with questions, it's back and forth, back and forth, and so like. Me as an interviewee, I know that if I've got nothing else to say, then I can just kind of let dead air for a second, and then the interviewer can pick things up. But that chaos, it can contribute to more organic conversations.
Which is what my podcast is all about. I don't, like I said, I don't know if people notice this, but sometimes I wonder if authors notice this. I don't plug books. I don't plug books until the very end usually, right? Yeah. We'll talk stories, telling sometimes.
Yeah, no, I sell very little books based on the books.
Yes.
I sell them more based on me.
Absolutely.
And so that's why I'm far more, like, come to things like this, and I'm engaged, and I have these conversations. I mean, I can tell you about my books, but...
Well, no, and to a point, maybe we will talk about your books.
Yeah,
but it'll be to a point. And it's like,
Yeah, no, I know it's not the way that you generally operate from what I've heard, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I like the organic conversations.
Yeah. So, I'm going to talk, I mentioned this last time when we did the panel. I want to hear, what is the anti-writer spiel? Because I want to actually hear this.
The anti-author spiel. The anti-author spiel comes from the fact that when I first started getting into this industry, I realized that I was in a strong minority about what my expectations were in this industry when it comes to what I was going to be doing, right? Like, I was going to be a part-time writer at best, and I never wanted to make this my full-time job, ever. And I'd have conversations, and especially in that very first year that I was here when Words Collide, which was the first time that I was really out publicly as a writer. And I would sit down and I have no problem sitting down with someone and just engaging in conversation and getting that started. And so many people I talked to, I tell them this, and they were offended by it, right? Like they were taken aback, like almost like I had insulted them. And it was never my intention, but I realized that for most of the people that I talk to, it's like the end goal is I want to be a writer.
Yeah.
And I do not want to be a writer. And a lot of the things that I do fly in the face of the established norms, but I'm still...
So, here's where I actually agree. I actually have an agreement with you, and I have a small disagreement with you.
For sure.
I'll get to the small disagreement. I don't think it's a hobby for you. And I'll tell you why I think that. You're too passionate. I don't think it's your priority. I think, honestly, you're the kind of guy that has a lot of things on his plate that he would like to do and like to accomplish. And I respect the hell out of that. But thing is, you don't put together... I know people that do it for a hobby. Most people that do it for a hobby are not as put together about it as you are. And that's kind of where I think when I say... So, you want to be a part-time writer? Only a part-time writer doesn't offend me at all. Right? It's just like, that is a very honest assertion, I think, of what your goals are, and no one should be offended about that. Right?
Maybe I presented it the wrong way.
Because that's the part. I think the part where I think I listen to you and I go, I don't buy it, is the hobby part.
Well, I don't know. Maybe a different word.
But again, I'm not trying to be critical here.
No,
I know
that's okay. That's okay. I cannot possibly expect to say something like anti-author with a bunch of authors and not expect some blowback.
No, and I'm not even trying to blow back at you.
Yeah.
Where I'm coming at you.
You're asking the question, or you're confronting an honest truth.
Yeah, exactly.
Hello, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Welcome. Enjoy.
Yes. Cheers.
So, it's more so, part of it is flash, part of it is persona.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm very much am who I am, be a writer Mark or just regular
No,
right?
and again, I respect that.
Yeah.
Right.
The other thing is, I don't want to be perceived as someone who's making light of the people who are trying to do this full time. If I come at it and I'm just like, I could write or not, whatever, I think that I'm not going to make it as far, and I'm going to...
No. I think... Okay, so I'm going to ask this, and I'm not doing this as an offensive thing. Would you like a presentation advice on this? Would you like it? It's up to you. If you don't, I respect your stance.
Am I actively fishing for one? No, but I still say continue because I'm really interested in what you have to say.
I respect your honesty that you actually are only committing to this part time. And like I said, and we'll talk about your other interests in just a minute. You have a lot going on, and the fact that you have goals outside of writing, I actually think is very admirable, right? And I think that presented that way, right? I want to be a writer, but I'm interested in doing these other things, and they take priority. I think it's actually the most honest way to put it. But the way I just said that, there's no way to get offended by that. Because if someone gets offended by that, they're an idiot. I'm just being very blunt on that. They're an idiot, right? Right? Now, obviously, your spiel is your spiel, your shtick is your stick, and you're going to do whatever you're going to do, right? Also, honestly, being a part-time writer, there's a lot. It can be very blunt. I'm a part-time writer. Yeah. As much as I would love to do it full-time, I have a day job. Guess what? I'm a part-time writer. I'm still a part-time podcaster. It's more my job now than it used to be. It's still a part-time job. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I'm being very blunt about that. Right. I know. Right. It's that, like, again, writer and podcaster is my identity. Ergo, it's what I present to the world. I still work in a warehouse. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Right. I call it a sparkle muffin, but it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter, right?
I'm aware of the sparkle muffin.
Yes. Does that crack you up, by the way, when I say that?
I love it.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. But like I said, I feel you're actually I think the part-time writer thing. Like I said, if that's all you want to be, if that's all you absolutely totally respect that, right? And I think and that's where I would not be offended, because again, look around this room. There's a lot of part-time writers.
There is, and the majority of people won't get offended by that, or haven't been offended by that. Now, I don't know if that's because I've refined the way that I communicate it, or I just really met the wrong people that first time out.
I feel it's a bit it's a bit of both.
It could be. It very well could be. And I was just so eager to be accepted the first time around, but I also wanted to differentiate myself.
You wanted to stand out.
I did want to stand out. Yeah. There's a reason I wear this cowboy hat everywhere, right?
Dude, you stand out everywhere. You're a hulking dude. Like,
I'm a big dude. And I approach people, and I like wearing bright shirts, and I wear this. I legitimately wear this cowboy hat.
Actually, do you know the only thing you made me mad about that I couldn't really argue against you? When you talking about Kawhi Leonard leaving Toronto Raptors, I was so sad. It's like, damn it, he's right, but I'm so mad.
He's gone. I knew he was gone. I put out the door. It was true.
Actually, here's what I respect about Kawhi, honestly. He bought in. Like, the year he was here, he made the most. He committed. He made the most of his time here. Yeah. I still honestly think he would have chosen the Raptors over the Lakers, but I knew, I do think the Clippers. I knew that the Clippers had to pull that off, right? It was like,
and it gives the Lakers don't need help building a legacy, right? The Lakers as a team, their legacy is pretty firmly.
It's also counterintuitive where he's done. It doesn't it felt like that would be a bad choice for him, no matter what.
Yeah, the Lakers are an established commodity, just like the Celtics, just like the Knicks, just like the Bulls since the 80s.
Yeah.
But the Clippers, what have the Clippers done for you?
Yeah.
They had Blake Griffin for a few years.
They're a challenge and it's home. And by the way, I totally respect that he went home. I don't think anybody has a problem. You can't have a problem with a guy who helps you deliver a championship.
The reason I was saying that he was definitely gone was, especially once he won a championship in Toronto, he has nothing else. There's no more challenge in Toronto anymore. He showed up, and he's like, if I have an opportunity to go home for the maximum amount of money, why wouldn't I go home? Yeah. And he didn't even sign the 5-year contract. He signed like a
because it's leverage. Yeah. Right? It's totally leverage against the team, which is good business actually for him.
So he strikes me as an extremely intelligent man who knows what he wants.
Yep.
And
I still think he'd be a cool guy to have a beer with, because he doesn't seem like the kind of guy that would have a problem with that.
Well, I did see that when he got to LA, he was happy to go out and buy a car, because he didn't have a car the whole time he lived in Toronto. But he's farther away from the arena now, and he went out and he bought a used 2008 Subaru Impreza or something like that. I'm like, that sounds like a car like that a man like that would drive, something practical and reasonable and not flashy at all.
And like I said, I respect that. I mean, the one thing I just talked with Jonas a little bit. Like the biggest trapping I think a writer I should worry about is fame. Mm-hmm. It is actually it's not. Fame's a tool to help you make more money. It totally is. That's what it is. That's what it is. No more, no less. Yeah. But in every other way, it's a pain in the ass. In every other way, it's just a giant pain in the ass.
Yeah, you have to accept those trappings if you want to.
Yeah.
Like if you want to make it as a writer, you want to do it full time. You're going to have the fame that goes with it, and you're going to have to live with the fact that some people are going to be analyzing parts of your life, and you're going to lose certain freedoms, and you have to be able to accept those kinds of things, right?
Yeah,
And
it's a glass cage. I mean, it is a glass cage.
it is. It is.
And that's the part I'm dreading, right? I again, maybe I'm an egomaniac. I do think that the way I'm going to end up seeing success in something sooner or later. Like,
for sure.
Yeah.
Even just having that attitude goes a really long way.
Yeah. So, but that's the part that kind of goes like, ew. Right.
Yeah.
That's the part that makes me go, I don't want it. I don't wanna. But I can't have. It's not a perfect world. It just is not a perfect world.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about what else you do, because because I like I said, you have a lot. I've always gotten the sense you have a lot of hats on you. So what are your other hats?
The primary one, the most important one, the most cliched one is father and husband, and that takes up a lot of my time. The reason it takes up a lot of my time is because my wife is a graphic designer and she works from home, and I see her, she's there, but she looks after the kids during the day. She does the kid thing, and then I get off at about 4 o'clock every day, and then I get home, and she's got to go and finish however many hours left of work she's got. So she's in the house, and she's up in the bonus room. I can see her, I can talk to her if I need to, but she's working, and that's her time. So I have to make sure that the kids avoid her, and the kids are old enough now, they understand that. But my kids are also very active, and I want to make sure there are certain challenges with my kids, with one in particular, when it comes to making sure that he gets out and he's socializing and he's comfortable doing what he's doing. And then the only way I ever knew how to do that was sports. And I am a huge sports believer. My kid's never going to go to the show, or if he is, it's going to take a lot more work than where we're at right now. But it is so ridiculously important to me that he becomes comfortable in social settings, and he becomes comfortable with himself and confident in himself, which is something that sports can give him. I will do anything I can to get him into it. I will.
Discipline is a very underrated trait in sports. It's a very underrated trait in sports. The biggest thing, like self-esteem, like I look at people with self-esteem issues well into their 20s and 30s. Mm-hmm. The biggest thing I notice for a lot of them is a lack of accomplishment. Mm-hmm. Right? It's that lack of accomplishment that limits them.
Yeah, even on my son's a goalie in hockey, and he's just had a very successful spring and summer in baseball as well. So like he plays the different sports and does different things. Particularly with goalie, it's very different. Anybody will tell you that goalies are different people. So
it takes a certain kind of
it does
chest paw to get hit as hard as you can from a puck.
Exactly, and the other part is the loneliness.
Yeah.
All the rest of the team, okay, before the game and after the game, they're all hanging out in the change room and they're all having fun and laughing or whatever. But during the game,
he's got some defensemen every once in a while, and that's it.
And there's nobody that you can talk to. And over the course of a game, you have a 2-minute shift, and that's a long shift. But you go out there for that shift, then you're on the bench for another 4 minutes, 5 minutes. You talk to people, you talk to the coaches, people encourage you. You go out there, you have a bad shift, and somebody comes out and they can pick you up like, hey man, it's all right, we'll get them next time. You go out there as a goalie, and somebody dekes you out really bad, makes you look like a fool, and hangs your jockey shorts from the ceiling. You're alone. You are all alone. And like, somebody might come by and give you a quick pat and say, hey, it's all right, man, but nobody's going to be able to tell you what you did wrong. You got to sort it all out yourself. It's a very lonely position. For him, I think that really works to his advantage, because a lot of the time he likes the social aspect of it, and he still gets it before and after, but during the game he's very much in his own mind. And
it sounds like he's the kind of guy that when he has a task at hand is when he's actually happiest.
It is, or he feels the most complete.
Yeah.
I won't say that he like. There's been a few instances in the baseball season this year where I've caught him with a smile on his face, and that's pretty rare. Like when he does something particularly special, and he gets a grin on his face, or he walks off the field, you can see that sense of pride. And I very rarely see that when he's playing goalie. But I don't force him into it, and I say, you don't want to do this, you tell me. Well, for one thing, it's a whole lot cheaper for me.
Goalie equipment is expensive, yeah.
Oh, yeah, even the used stuff.
No, I know. A goalie is like the most expensive stuff in hockey.
It is. And I'm always looking for deals and getting used stuff and whatever. But he doesn't have to go out and do it. I will push him because as long as I know that he is enjoying it. And he might fight it sometimes, like, oh, I really don't want to go out there. But he might fight it a bit, and with just a little bit of encouragement, he'll still go out there. He's never gotten to the point where he's like, I'm just not going. And
it's that I don't wanna get the momentum started kind of thing. Not that my passion's dead for this. I don't want to do this anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My belief with it is that it will become a social tool for him in the future. It will give him the good things like the physical attributes, and it'll give him the socializing and the discipline as well.
I think the discipline is actually the most important of the three.
It is, and it's also the one that's the most, or I should say, the least spoken about when it comes to sports. Because you talk about like the social aspect and the chance for victory and all the rest of the stuff, but discipline, when you hear somebody talk about discipline for a child or discipline for anybody, it always has a negative connotation.
Yeah.
Like it has an air of something negative, but as someone who grew up in martial arts a lot, of course, I heard the word discipline day in and day out, and
it's actually so. I have like 8 rules. If you listen to my podcast, you know what they are. But the first rule: show up. Discipline's all about showing up. That is completely what it's about. It's nothing. It's not about anything else. It's that due diligence of putting the work in. That's what it is. It's all it is.
Yep.
It sounds like such a simple thing, but most people don't have a foundation in it. It's not even like a these days thing. It's just, I think that's just a general problem. There are people who do and there are people who don't. And the cool thing about it doesn't have to necessarily be sports. It could be theater. It could be any kind of discipline, right? And just discipline is an art form, sport, whatever you call it. But that day in, day out due diligence is over. I didn't realize how important that was until I was much, much older. It's actually a huge thing.
Yes. And any kind of activity like that where others rely on you, that's where it comes from. And when you see people who kind of run on their own schedule for whatever reason, they're not out there to overtly offend you or anybody else. It's just they in all likelihood have come from a place where they did not have to have their actions accountable to other people, or they weren't held accountable when they were younger. And it's such a huge thing in today's world. It doesn't matter what it is you get into or how far you go with it. It's mandatory for me. You gotta have that discipline. You gotta have respect for other people. Like I tell him on days that he's really dragging his feet, I'm like, you can drag your feet, but you're going to go there, because it's not like you might be tired or you might just be in a bad mood, but the rest of your team's going to be there. Your coaches are going to be there. The other team is going to be there, and they're coming for the chance to compete against you, particularly as a goalie. They're going to test you more than they're going to test anybody else. There's so many other things beyond just how you feel at that moment, and it's hard for a kid to understand that, but
it's even hard for some adults to understand that.
Absolutely, especially if they didn't have a good foundation with it when they were younger.
Yeah. Well, it's because so when I won the Aurora, the biggest, actually, there's 2 things. How did I win it? Which I think it's that surreal shock of winning. Mm-hmm. But the second part is, how did I get here, and what can I do to keep coming back here? Mm-hmm. That's a big thing. I don't think it's a simple question. But when you win an award, do you ask that question? When you get an accolade, do you ask those questions? The reason that's important is because what did I do to get here? Because that means I did something right. I had to do something right to get here. And what can get in the way of me coming back here again? And I think that one of the coolest things about discipline, and again, it's something a younger me never would have figured this out. Older me did. It's that it eliminates the excuse of you having a shitty day. Yep. Right? Now, we all have a day where, you know what, it ain't going to work right. I'm going to go back to sleep. I'm going to go back tomorrow. We're going to try this again.
Yep.
Right? We all have those days. But it's a really slippery slope that those days become a pattern.
They do, and then you start to feel like, oh, I didn't lose out on anything because I didn't commit yesterday, so I'm just going to do it again today, and I'll get around to it tomorrow, and then it snowballs.
Yeah.
It totally snowballs.
Yeah, it does, and then it hits out of nowhere, whereas, like I said, that's the cool thing about sports. Like, again, I was not an athletic kid. I, to my incredible shame, I can no longer dribble with my left hand in basketball. Right? It was like I used to be an adequate dribbler. I wouldn't say I was good, but I was adequate. Now it's like the ball just keeps getting away from me now on my left hand.
I was big into sports.
Yeah.
But the thing that I admitted very early to myself was that, like most sports, I'm most passionate about baseball. I never played hockey. And I did things like martial arts and dancing and gymnastics and those kinds of things. But I was most passionate about baseball. I was never good. I was never at the top of anybody's lineup. I was never the one that you wanted.
You don't have to be, though.
No, you don't have to be. It was more about, like, when I went back and started playing baseball as an adult, I'm playing hardball with a bunch of guys who played in the NCAA or played single or double A baseball, like guys who made way, way farther than I ever did. I never made it to those kinds of levels. I didn't care that I was at the bottom or I was only playing every other game as a backup catcher. I went out and I went hard, and I knew that I was doing it for a purpose, and I never really knew what that purpose was until I was older, but it was about the discipline and the camaraderie and having that structure in my life when I was younger, when I really needed it too, because my parents were separated when I was 10 and I was raised by a single mom, and it was like I needed that discipline from somewhere else because I wasn't necessarily getting it at home. My mom did the best she could, but it takes...
There are holes. When a single parent, like, no matter how good of a parent you are, there's just holes in your game.
There's going to be holes. Exactly.
Yeah.
And they got to live their own lives too. So I didn't care how bad I was at baseball. As long as I could hold my own, I knew that I could always go out and I could find a diamond somewhere and play slow pitch and something when I was older. And I did, and I still do on and off. And that's the same kind of thing that I want for my kids. Yeah, I don't care if he ever makes it to the NHL. I care that he learns the skills to do those kinds of things. And so when he's older, he's 30 years old, he can go into a pickup game and there's always...
So
everybody needs a goalie.
I love your attitude as a parent, because here's the thing. Here's what I hate. Hockey parents. I hate them so much.
I for the longest time didn't believe that they existed. I thought that they were...
Yeah.
I thought that... Because I never, like I said, I never played hockey. I spent very little time in arenas in general. I barely knew how to skate before I had kids, and it was obvious that their passion was going to be skating and hockey. And
so you had to just learn, right?
I had to learn. Like, I could skate and not fall over, and that was about as far as it went.
Then that's fine, right? That's totally fine, right?
Yeah, and now I'm a much stronger skater, and now I've coached him for the last 2 years, right? Like, that's how I progressed. But I didn't believe that hockey parents existed until my son was in, like, just a city-run organization. Like, it was just basically a basics of hockey. We started talking about kids who were 4 years old. And like 4 or 5 years old, and I'm there in the stands, and I'm watching parents like shout from the stands, like, get up, like these are just kids like just doing drills and skating around pylons, and somebody will fall down, like, get up, shoot, like they're not being helpful in any way. And as someone who's been on the ice, they can't hear what you're saying. They have no idea. But just to sit there, I'm like, these kids are just learning how, and you're drilling them already. And then it's only progressively gotten worse that I've seen. Like, I've seen the fist fights, and I've seen the...
oh, good Lord.
The bonkers, and I'm like...
I know, I went to, I remember my mom was dating somebody, and I would go to the hockey game. I hated sitting in the stands. I hated it, because I was just like... What is wrong with you people? Like, it's...
Yeah.
Okay, let's be real. Like, athletics is the ultimate meritocracy. That's the other cool thing about athletics. It's the ultimate meritocracy. If you're good, everybody knows it. Yeah. Everybody knows it.
Yeah.
Right? So, the thing about athletics is, now, when you get... It doesn't matter. Even up to, like, the high school levels, there are maybe at most, on a team, there might be one guy.
Sure.
Maybe one guy that might be able to go past that point.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Right? That one guy maybe should get extra time, extra discipline, and if the parent is smart, they're going to make the effort to make that happen.
Yes.
Right? But to the rest of you, right? Yeah. I was like, they're kids. I mean, even at high school, they're kids.
Yeah.
They're here to have fun. And that's okay. That is totally okay.
There's so much more going on that ice or on that field or anywhere than just success and failure. There's so much more.
Yeah.
And it's something that so many people, either they just didn't get that message when they were being raised.
Or they're trying to live vicariously through the kid, which actually is the absolute worst thing.
Which is why I love the fact that my kid plays hockey, because I can't live vicariously through it.
Yes.
Because I never played, and I know nothing about that world, only what I've learned in the last few years being with it.
Yeah, but which is probably the best way to come into it, actually, because
I think so, but I'm totally biased because I see more negativity from the people who are like, I played ever since I was 3, and then I made it to whatever level, and then I had kids, so my kids are playing hockey. I'm just like, I would never ever committed my kids to playing hockey, because when I was younger, like, my sister was a dancer, and I'm like, I want to be a dancer too, and nobody had a problem with me going out and being a dancer, and I danced for like 7 years, and I had a great time, and I made great friends.
Dancers are so are actually the secret badasses of the world. No, it is totally, that is some of the strongest people I have ever seen.
Totally. Talk about it. Like dancers and swimmers.
Swimmers are a little more obvious because it's just you can see the work. Like it's easier to imagine the work that takes, and I don't even know why, to be perfectly honest with you. But it's just, you see a swimmer, it's just there's resistance. You're fighting against it all the time. Mm-hmm. Water is just an unforgiving thing.
Yes.
Right. To carry your own weight on your toe. I've seen this with ballet dancers in particular. To carry your entire body weight, and they're doing it at a young age. Let alone that someone's been doing it for 10 years. Even if someone's done it for a couple of years.
Yeah.
They're fucking strong. I mean, totally. Yeah. They are, legitimately speaking, the only people that might be tougher than them are MMA people, and that's not by much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's completely underrated. If my kids had said, "Hey, I want to be a dancer," I would have fully supported them.
Yeah.
But I knew from so early on, from the moment he was able to walk and pick up a hockey stick, like a little mini stick in my basement, I'm like, this kid's gonna be a hockey player. And there's I had no influence on it. Like a lot of times I see kids who are, I'm like, I think you're only playing this because your parents really wanted to get you into hockey.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can usually see them a mile away.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And they burn out so quick. They're going to be the kids that burn out by the age of 11 or 12, and then...
Wait, yeah, that's the only way, that's the only path they can go down.
Yeah. But I had no influence on it whatsoever, but the kid wanted to play hockey. So I'm like, I better learn this world as best I can, but I also want to make sure that I maintain the mentality that brought me there in the first place, which was, I'm not a part of that world. I watch it as an observer. I take the parts from it that I really like, and I leave the shouting from the stands and my son could have been at such a level, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah. You're interested in the building blocks that teaches you and nothing more. And if they decide, I don't know how good your son is, and then I'm not. If he decides he wants to be a professional hockey player, he wants to try for it, that's cool.
Yeah.
Right? But I feel like for you, it's either or for you. You don't really care.
It has to be his motivation. He's not going to live my dream.
Yeah.
I know people who they have a kid who goes pretty far.
Yes.
And they will do anything in the world. They will sell their worldly possessions just to pay for all the things that make that far. But I never hear that it's the kid pushing that. It might be them and their suggestions and their ideas. And with my son, I want to, if he comes to me, he's like, Dad, I want to go to the show. Help me out here. I want to go to the show. I will do anything. I will take all those same steps. It's going to be his motivation that does it. I'm not going to push him. Do I think he can be good enough to do that? Absolutely I do. And I say that as somebody who's his dad and loves him and will tell him that anyway. But I really believe that he has the ability to do that. But it's all him. And it's that mental strength that's going to be, it's always going to be all him. It doesn't matter if it's hockey or baseball. It doesn't matter if he wants to be a writer like me, or if it doesn't matter what he's doing. He's got to be able to commit to it and know that I will support him 100%, but he has to have the mental fortitude
to go for it,
to get that far. I might give him a kick every once in a while if I think he needs one, but I'm never going to push him.
No. Well, you can be a horse to Robert Teaming, I'm doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's it. That's exactly where it comes from. And I'm not going to lead him. He's going to take me, and I'm going to support him along the way. And I'll help him with some things that I've learned as a man over the years, but I'm still figuring it out too.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 39. I turned 40 in a couple months.
Wow, you're a little older. You're a little older than me. I'm 37.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I say something? I actually think I'm a little jealous of you. Right, a little bit. Because you sound like. I'm sure your wife is probably very similar in terms of supporting for the kids, like you are.
100%.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like your kids have an amazing home. I'm being very sincere when I say that. It's like you have you've made an amazing life for yourself. It's actually awesome.
Like I said, okay, yeah, my parents split up when I was younger. My dad was mostly away, but he was never completely out of my life.
No.
But he wasn't terribly supportive at that time, and it was all my mom. All I ever wanted was a better station in life than what I had the opportunity for. And my mom did the best she could, but it was also my motivation. I didn't really have a whole lot of motivation. I was such a conflicted person when I was younger. So I set that goal, and I feel like right now it's achieved. My son is now older than I was when my parents split up, and I'm not leaving my wife. And
No.
So spoiler alert, Jen, I'm not leaving.
Yeah, okay. I actually, Jen, like Mr. Mark's wife, I saw how his eyes just lit up there. I think you got him for as long as you want him.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wrapped around everything.
Yeah.
I'm an ass. I know I'm an ass. I own my assholishness. I really do. And she puts up with a lot of crap from me. But
I somehow feel she puts you in your place though sometimes. I can see that.
In her own way, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I can get fired up and I can say and do stupid things and she'll call me out on it. And I feel like an idiot in the moment and I get defensive of it in the moment. But she's right. She is right. She's 100% right.
No,
So
it's okay. So can I make I'm gonna make a friendly commentary here.
Right away.
You sharpen your wife's ruthlessness. This is probably actually useful for her because the one thing about art, and it's not talked about very much, it is a very cutthroat business.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be ruthless.
Yeah.
It's okay to be an asshole sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. You need to be. You're right. You need to be.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, for people who I first met when I was describing my work process and I was describing what it was I wanted, who were taken aback and kind of offended, and slowly looked away and walked away from the conversation. You gotta have a thicker skin than that, or else you're not gonna make it very far.
No, this is a ruthless, cutthroat industry. I mean, and don't get me wrong, we all have our moments.
Yeah.
I get my edits back sometimes, and I look at them, and I'm like, damn it. I learned this lesson the hard way, right? But you never, ever, ever respond right away. You go, you scream, you cry, even if you need to cry, and then you move on, right? Because an editor will come. They're doing the right thing for you at the right time, the best they can know how to do.
Yeah,
that's all they can do. You're asking them to eviscerate you.
Yes.
You're gonna get eviscerated sometimes.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it's easy because you can look at it and really realize how much of an idiot you are. It's like, what was I thinking?
But I fully accept that. I want that because
absolutely no.
I do not have the skill set to do that.
That part is easy. The worst ones are when you're just completely blind to them. Like you just didn't. Like I'm an idiot is a total excuse. Mm-hmm. It's when you think you're brilliant, but you're not. So those are the ones that
I approach everything with 2 feet firmly planted on the ground. I don't care. For writing specifically, I had a lot of success very early. Once I came out of the gate, I had
I believe it because again, just straight up, you have a very solid foundation. Whatever your mom didn't have, whatever she gave you was really good.
And I'm thankful for it. But a big part of it was a realistic view. That's why I say I don't want to do this because I approached it so late. If I really wanted to commit whole hog to doing this in some way, shape, or form, aspects of my life were going to be sacrificed. Something with my kids, something with my wife, something with my friends. It's something at this point. At this point, it's going to be sacrificed. And I'm not willing to pay that price. And I'm totally comfortable with not paying it.
I'm going to ask a fun question, and then we're going to go back to this point.
Yep.
What's realistic to you? I have a really, because I have a very interesting take on real. But you unintentionally gave me you have a good counter argument, but we'll get to that. But what do you feel is realistic first?
In what regard?
But no, what's realistic? I'm legitimately in general. I love to hear this one.
I can answer that by saying I don't make pie in the sky dreams. I make realistic dreams. And when I say I make realistic dreams, when I was younger, when I was in high school, there were three things I wanted to do. I mean, I knew people who wanted to play sports professionally. I knew people who wanted to grow up and be teachers or architects or authors or artists. I wanted to do three simple things. I wanted to move out west. I wanted to learn Japanese, and I wanted to work at an outdoor store. Those are very simple things. I mean, they're not.
No, they're not.
Very obtainable things. So when I was 18, I moved out west, and I started working at an outdoor store like 2 weeks after I started working, and then I started taking Japanese lessons at Mount Royal on night school. Because I had a master plan after that, and I was like, okay, I've achieved this, so what do I want to do next? Oh, I'd really like to kind of be an English teacher in Japan. And that was the next goal. But then things, I'm not going to say went off the rails. I met a woman, I fell in love, and that's okay. Like, I didn't sacrifice anything for it. So what's realistic to me is something that I'm not doing right now, but is absolutely achievable, but it's entirely on my shoulders to do it. I rely on nothing of the outside world to allow that, whatever that goal is, to happen. I was talking to somebody earlier today, and we were talking about, well, what was it like a pie in the sky dream when you were younger? I was like, well, I really wanted the books that I was writing when I was in high school to be turned into like a movie or an anime or something like that, and I really wanted to voice the main character. That was way out there, and it's still way out there, and there were so many things in just saying that I cannot control. And that's, if there's major chunks of it that are out of my control in order to make them happen, then they're not realistic. So that comes back to,
okay,
because it has to be on my shoulders, or I really have to have a lot of faith in the shoulders of the people that they do.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so I'm going to ask one more question, then I'm going to give you my rebuttal.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. What's faith to you?
Belief in myself.
Okay.
It is strictly belief in myself. I have to have faith in myself, and I also have to have a belief in the people who I surround myself with to certain aspects. Some people I'll believe in to do things more than others.
Okay.
But faith has always, to me, been what I can do and what I feel comfortable with in the long term.
Okay. So I'm going to give you an interesting rebuttal.
Mm-hmm.
See, I don't believe in realistic. And I'm going to tell you why I don't believe in realistic. Because I don't think that there is such a thing as real. And the reason I make it like that is this. If real is, I'm going to quote a movie. How do you define real? If real is simply what you can see, hear, touch, taste, smell, then real is nothing more than sensory stimulation.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
That's all real is. If that's all what real is, then anything is possible because you can fool that stimulation anytime you want.
Sure.
Okay. So, then if real is anything you want it to be, it's really about, to me, what you set your mind to. Here's the thing about you, I think I figured out. You love your family more than anything else in the world. And that is your priority. That is your real.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
It does. It makes complete sense.
Right?
And you're not going to get an argument out of me.
All right.
Yep.
All right.
Well,
everything else, right? I will respectfully disagree with you, right? But I can also respect the fact that you're a family man first, and there is nothing wrong with that. And I think we could do a lot worse than parents like you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that I can respect that. That is a far better answer than I've heard from people that would say realistic. I don't fully agree with it.
Right, but
I respect that position. I can respect that position. That is the best answer of realistic I've ever heard.
Thank you.
All right?
I appreciate that.
Yeah. All right?
Yeah.
So because for me, see, I don't think anything really is. There is so the paradox of success is simply this to me. You can do everything right. I have 8 rules to success. Do you know what they are?
Not off the top of my head. I've heard
Okay.
before, but I couldn't list them for you.
Rule 1, show up. Rule 2, do your thing. Rule 3, don't quit. Rule 4, the rest is fine. We'll come back to that one because that's the one that really matters here. Rule 5, get out of your way. Rule 6, no excuses. That's also applies, but we'll get to that too. Rule 7, be grateful, be thankful. Rule 8, stay uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So rule 4, rest is rain. This is the one I think the realists love, but also the realists should hate. You can't. The paradox of success, Colleen Durant says this, is that the paradox of success is you can do absolutely all the steps right to succeed and still not succeed. The catch is if you do none of those steps, you will never succeed. Right?
Yeah.
Results will vary upon success. That is the nature of the world. You cannot say for sure that you will win a Golden Globe for your screenplay. But it's entirely possible that if you solve all the problems leading up to that point, that you will at least have a good chance of doing so, and other opportunities may come your way as a result. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Totally.
Rule 6, no excuses. Here's the part I think I'm going to challenge you on. And by the way, right now, I know what your answer is going to be, and I completely respect your answer. And this is not even respect.
Yeah.
People do, no excuses is simply this. People do exactly what they want to do, given any circumstance, given any consequence. They'll still do exactly what they want to do. You, sir, are no different. But what you actually want, you're not really worried about career success. What you're worried about is being the best dad, best husband, the best family man you can be. And while that is relevant, while your kids are still in that house, that is going to be your number one goal. When they leave their house, that will still be kind of your number one goal. But at that point, you, my friend, are going to have to challenge yourself. And I will say this straight up. You can go as far as you want to. I don't care what your faith says. I don't care what you believe in terms of what realistic is. The possibilities for you are there. I can respect the fact that you are unwilling to sacrifice your time with your kids and your wife. I can respect that. That is a really good answer why not to go all in. But when your kids are at the house, you're going to have to go all in.
But am I?
Yes. I'll tell you why. And this is why I'm going to give you my reason why I think you should. Now, you may disagree with it, and that's totally your prerogative.
That's what I want to hear.
Yeah.
Why do you think I should?
Because you're going to wonder. Here's the thing about you. You're a very capable human being, and right now you have a task at hand that's more important than life itself. But the day is going to come when your kids are out of the house, or the kids don't need you as much.
Right. Sure.
That day is going to come. When that day actually comes, you will have time. Now, maybe at first, you are going to find other things to occupy yourself. Interests. But you're also, my friend, this is something I will say, this is what you have in common with everybody here. You're a passionate dude. You are a very passionate dude. You're going to find something you're going to fall in love with, and you're going to do it. And that is, now again, right now, I completely respect where you're coming from. That is actually, again, the world could use more parents like you, legit. But when your kids don't need you so much anymore, when your kids are ready to take on the world on their own a little bit more and need you a little bit less, right? Yeah. You, my friend, are going to have to put yourself to the metal, if for no other reason than this, right? I don't feel you're the kind of guy that doubts himself, but I also feel you're the kind of guy that needs to push himself. You're going to need to find out what's going to happen when your back is against the wall and what happens when you push forward. And I think that time will come when your kids are ready to move on. When that happens, you're going to have to let yourself be just uncomfortable enough to find out who you are when your kids aren't there. That is me to you as a... I'm not going to say, I don't know if we're exactly friends, but it just means to you as someone that sees where you're at.
Yeah.
Right? That's how I see it. But right now, totally respect your position.
Right. I'm not going to deny it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to deny it at all because I can't possibly predict the future.
Yeah.
I fully anticipate that could happen, but I'm not there yet, and I can't possibly.
No, I get you.
Yeah.
But honestly, yeah.
If I I had the opportunity before I had kids. I had the opportunity, and I wasn't doing it.
Sorry to interrupt. Are you guys going to want another beer?
No, that's it. Give you the bills now.
The bill now? Okay, sure, no problem.
Yes.
Quick and easy.
Yes.
Easy.
But
Like I say that I can't predict the future, so I have no idea. It's entirely possible that I'm going to get to that point, and if that's the case, then I will gladly say, yeah, I wasn't wrong those years, but that was what I needed to say at that time to get me through.
No. I think you misunderstand. You made a conscious choice of what your priorities were, and no one has a right to tell you any different. I'm not telling you any different. In fact, I'm telling you, I respect that position. That is an honest answer to a question of why someone doesn't pursue their dreams. You have bigger priorities. There is no one in this room that can tell you otherwise. Right?
Right.
But
the priorities can change.
The priority will change inevitably because, again, at some point, your kids will need to take on the world, and you will have more time for you.
Yeah.
I've actually money.
Okay, yeah, however you want to pay.
Magic money.
Perfect. We'll grab you some change.
No, you won't.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yes.
All right, enjoy the rest of your beers, guys.
Yes.
Have
Thank
a
you,
wonderful day.
Yes.
You're welcome.
And that's it. When again, right now, gets you. Future, when you have more time, you're gonna have to kill it somehow. Yeah, all right. So.
I know that I've come from a place where I've had time in the past, and writing wasn't a priority.
It doesn't necessarily be writing. It's not necessarily going to be writing. It might be something else.
It might be something else.
Yeah, but something else will have to be there, or you won't evolve. And that's.
I'm gonna take a break first. I don't know how long that break's gonna be. I don't know if it'll be like a week or a month or something. But
I get you. Anyways, we gotta wrap this up. So
right.
Why don't you plug your latest book?
All right.
And how people can find you, because this is awesome.
For sure. So my latest book is Catching Hell Part 2 Destination. That's the final of my science fantasy duology that came out late last year. And you can find that on all the major platforms. It's all out there, Amazon, Kobo, or anywhere you go. There's also my debut novel, Death Dresses Poorly. That's urban fantasy dark comedy. That was a ton of fun to write, and I smashed it out really quick, and I'm really proud of that one. And you can find me at marcwatson.ca. That's marcwatson.ca. And on Twitter and Instagram at @WriteWatson. All one word, and on Facebook at facebook.com/MarkWroteABook, MARC.
This episode of Just Joshing is sponsored by Indie Imprint. Indie Imprint supports creators by creators. Whether you are writing a book or creating a video game, Indie Imprint works with its clients to produce, edit, and present their projects to the world. For more information, check out their website at www.indieimprint.com.
And that was my conversation with Marc Watson. Check out his book. He's a good writer. He's a really, really, really cool human being. Marc, I wish you continued success. I'm going to miss you, buddy. I hope you keep doing well. And part-time writer, full-time for dad. It's a pretty cool life you built for yourself, man. A little envious. Good on you, though. So, after the next 2 weeks, episodes 305, 306, 307, and 308 will air as normal. 308 might air a little early, actually. It'll probably be the last podcast I do in this house, which is going to be kind of awesome. But when it is over, it might be that the week after there will be no podcast that airs. I'm going to be moving. I don't really know what to expect for the first week or so. Probably be a couple weeks before I'm really settled in, so there's a chance this podcast might go on hiatus for 2 weeks in November. If so, 309 will come back shortly thereafter, and 310, and it'll go back to its regular schedule from that point on. I feel it's important that I get my next move right and settled. I'm looking for a place as we speak. I still haven't told my landlord about it. I've made arrangements to talk to her on the weekend. It's going to be an interesting conversation, to say the least, because I know it's not going to be necessarily the best one. But change has come, and it's come quickly, and this is the end, man. And I'm really excited, but it's going to be a crazy week coming up. I just know it. And that will do it for this episode of Just Joshing. If you want to support the podcast, you can do so in a number of different ways. You can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, or Podomatic. New subscribers are happening all the time. It's really, really cool. Number one. Number two, support my sponsors. Indie Imprints doing great stuff. Get your ass to Mars, or Guidum, as Jeremy Berkeley says. It's the Dragon Edition. It's released this Halloween. You can order it now on Steam. Definitely take a look at it if you love simulations that will push your intelligence and your ability to survive. This is your game. This is amazing. Check them out this month. IndieImprint.com. Check them out on Steam or on your PC. Outside of that, my YouTube channel is Joshua Pantellaresco. My Twitter and Instagram is at jpantellaresco. Stay inspired. Stay true to your call. Get out of your own way and let yourself succeed. All right, guys. I'll talk to you next Monday.
Josh.